The Subcommittee on Livestock and Foreign Agriculture will now come to order. And I want to thank the members here, our chair and our ranking member as well, for participating in this important subcommittee to talk about the impacts that the trade has had from a stakeholder perspective throughout the breadth and width of American agriculture. And we have 5 good witnesses that I think reflect that perspective, and we look forward to their testimony. I've got an opening statement, as does the ranking member, and then we, as custom, will defer to the chair and to the ranking member of the full committee. For the purposes of the challenge that we have this morning with multiple committees meeting at the same time, we have witnesses here that come from various districts that in which you live in the constituency of members of this committee, and they would like to introduce you. Given that fact that we have members trying to fulfill other obligations, I'm going to, after the opening statements, allow the members of this committee to introduce those witnesses from their districts, and then we will begin with the witnesses in the order that they are listed here. So with that understanding, good morning. Good morning. It is a good morning. We got a little bit of rain. I wish we had more of it in California, but it is a good morning. We welcome today our witnesses and to hear their perspective on from the people who actually grow and raise and sell America's agricultural products. This incredible cornucopia of food that nobody does it better than the American farmer, rancher, dairyman, and woman who every day toil in the fields to produce the finest quality and nutritious crops at the highest production levels anywhere in the world. As one of my favorite songwriters, Paul McCartney, once said, nobody does it better. Nobody does it better than the American farmer. Trade is, I believe, in part what drives the demand and sustains markets for so much of what we produce in California as well as throughout the country. In my home state, which is the largest agricultural producer in the nation, we raise more than 400 commodities. It's amazing to think about that, over 400 commodities, and it represents 13% of the nation's total agricultural value at around $50 billion annually at the farm gate. That was in 2018. But I feel personally that, unfortunately, that I think the President's trade war has adversely impacted farmers not only in California but nationwide. He was quoted that we ought to buy bigger tractors and prepare yourself for a boom time to come. But I think the reality is over the last 18 months, the trade aid package, which was important and we all supported here on a bipartisan level, was an attempt to make up for the deficits that I think a better trade strategy would have avoided. We've provided billions of dollars in market facilitation program payments, but they are clear proof that the policies of the last several years have moved us further away from free and open markets in which American agriculture thrives, to say nothing about the inequities that I think existed in the program that was structured, especially in a place like California, where we have a host of specialty crops that did not benefit from the market facilitation program, unfortunately. Now, nobody here is going to dispute that farmers need to be compensated for the pain they've gone through. Clearly, it's part of the safety net that reflects itself in the Farm Bill. But as Chairman Peterson said last week, it's worth repeating, a farm economy propped up by payments from the government is not a healthy farm economy. And as Secretary Perdue said last week, and I quote him, "We know farmers want trade and not aid." And I think both statements are true. So how do we get to that point? I was very proud, and again, there was a strong bipartisan support that came from this committee and elsewhere that passed the U.S.-Mexico-Canadian trade agreement. And I commend the President and Secretary Ambassador Lighthizer with the bipartisan effort that included the Speaker and included many members of this committee all of last year to continue to work hard to push that bipartisan effort. And we hope that good things are going to come from that in terms of improved trade that will benefit business and the partnership that exists between Mexico and Canada. Actually combine the two countries together, and they account for more trade than the next 8 nations that we trade with. Secretary Lighthizer's efforts with Japan on Phase 1, I think, also is a good start. And we need to, I think, address other deficiencies in the dairy and rice issues that I think we all care about so that we can prevent full access on par with what we would have received, I think, if the Trans-Pacific Partnership had been implemented. And of course, those 13 nations have moved on without us. So we must continue to be vigilant and work hard in a bipartisan effort in these areas. I do have a level of skepticism that the initial deal with China is going to prove all the results that have been stated. I do hope it does move markets forward, and we will have to wait and see what actually gets purchased here. But clearly we know that the coronavirus outbreak is going to impact the market demand in China. We have agricultural commodities that have been shipped to China in the last month that are being held at port because of the quarantines, and these involve poultry products and others in which I have been in contact with industries from California. We also hope that the Chinese will focus on the progress that was made on the technical barriers that Ambassador Lighthizer negotiated in trade with China. That's part of the initial agreement. And I'm keeping an eye on that implementation to see what sort of opening we agreed to that will give, in particular for California, Chinese purchase in citrus. We're the largest citrus producer in the nation, and I'm being a little parochial here, but those markets are important to citrus production throughout the country. Looking ahead, I think we need to also turn our focus on the United Kingdom as a result of Brexit, as well as the European Union. I'm especially concerned on how the U.S. poultry exports into those markets. And I don't think we should look away from what we're doing that's been proven successful. Now, before I talk about that for a moment, we had the Trade Ambassador Phil Hogan here last month, who met with members of the committee on a bipartisan basis. I think I've worked with the Trade Minister, Phil Hogan, over the years when he was the Agricultural Minister. He clearly understands for us to have success with the European Union that agriculture has to be on the table. And I think we need to continue to bring that front and center. I know Ambassador Lighthizer feels that way. I believe the President feels that way. But let's look at some of the programs that have been successful in promoting agricultural trade. These promotion programs under the jurisdiction of this subcommittee, like Market Access Program, Foreign Market Development Program, Technical Assistance for Specialty Crops, have decades-long track record of establishing a foothold for American farmers, ranchers, and dairymen on foreign markets. And we need to, I think, enhance that effort. But let me just bottom line and close on this note. I am optimistic about the future. I guess I'm optimistic about the future because I am a third-generation farmer. And to be a farmer, let me tell you, folks, and I know we all represent farmers and ranchers, you better be an optimist because clearly I think 5% of American population represents American agriculture. It's a credible tribute to their success that less than 5% of the American population can produce all of this cornucopia plenty. And they are hard workers, we know that. And they are optimistic, as well as the people who work on those farms. So we need to continue to provide the support. This administration needs to, I think, do everything they can to be partners as we allow them to sell their products for a fair and level playing field. I know our witnesses have some ideas on how we can do a better job. We're looking forward to having you tell us how we can do a better job. At the close of my remarks, in consultation with the ranking member, pursuant to Rule 11E, excuse me, I want to make members of the subcommittee aware and other members of the full committee that obviously you may join us today. And I recognize the ranking member for his opening statement.